Ghosting, breadcrumbing, playing hard to get, these dating games are keeping you single. But today, I'm going to show you why the most successful wives never played these games in the first place and the exact framework they use instead to attract commitment-ready men. Let's get into it. Ladies, we need to talk about this women in male-dominated fields trend. Have you guys heard about this? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, where everyone's joking about ghosting men, playing games, and basically doing all the toxic things that hurt us in the first place. And I know what you're thinking. It's just a joke. It's not that serious. Trust me, I see the humor. I've read the comments. I've laughed at the memes. And yes, some of them are genuinely funny. But stay with me here, because this is about something deeper than just TikTok trends and Twitter jokes. Every time we see another woman jumping on the bandwagon, we see something that nobody's talking about. We see women who are still bleeding from old wounds, trying to bandage them with revenge and humor. We see women who deserve real, lasting love stuck in cycles that keep them further from the marriage they actually want. And most importantly, we see how this joke is revealing a much bigger truth about why so many amazing women can't find the committed relationships they're looking for. So today, we're going to have a real conversation about what's actually happening here, not to judge, okay? Because trust me, I understand the anger and the hurt, but we're going to look at why matching toxic energy might feel good right now, but is actually keeping you further from the love you deserve. And if you're thinking, but I don't even want marriage, stay with me anyway, because this isn't just about marriage. It's about breaking cycles of trauma that keep us stuck, whether we want a husband or not. So let's get into it. Let's break down what's actually happening in this trend. If you scroll through the hashtag, you'll see women bragging about ghosting men without explanation, breadcrumbing them for attention, playing hot and cold, dating multiple people without being honest about it. And I get it. The comments are full of women saying, well, men have been doing this to us forever, and you're not wrong. Many, if not perhaps all of us, have been on the receiving end of this behavior, and it hurts. It hurts so deeply that finding a way to laugh about it, to flip the script, feels like taking our power back. But here's what I'm seeing beneath the surface, and this is where it gets real. When we joke about this and joke about adopting toxic behavior, we're not just making memes. We're telling on ourselves. We're showing exactly where we're still wounded. So stay with me here. When you see these posts, what's the energy behind them? It's not just humor. There's a current of, now you know how it feels. I won't let anyone hurt me first. At least I'm in control now. These aren't just jokes, ladies. They're trauma responses wearing a trending hashtag. And before you come at me with, it's not that deep, I want you to notice something. Notice how the women who are most defensive about keeping these cycles going are often the same ones saying they can't find good men. Notice how the harder you lean into matching toxic energy, the further you get from the kind of love you actually want. Because here's the truth. When we're healing, we don't need to hurt others to prove we're powerful. When we're truly empowered, we don't need to show everyone how unbothered we are. Real healing isn't about getting even, it's about getting free. And this brings us to what's really at stake here, because while this trend might feel like harmless fun, there's a hidden cost to playing these games. You know, let me pause here for a second because I can already see the comments coming, but men do this to us. This is exactly what they do. That's why these jokes are so relatable, right? Baby, this is exactly why I need you to hear what I'm about to say next, okay? If you're consistently experiencing men who ghost you, who breadcrumb you, who play hot and cold, that's not a man problem, sweetheart. That's a you problem. I know that stings. I know that it's not nice to hear. But that is a picker problem. Here's what nobody's talking about. Wives, and I mean real wives, not just women who manage to get a ring, don't have these experiences. And it's not because they're lucky. It's because they know something you don't yet, and that's okay, but that's what we're here for. They know how to identify husband material from the first interaction, set proper boundaries that naturally filter out players, show up with wife energy that commands respect, create dynamics where games aren't even possible. When you know what to look for, when you understand true masculine nature, When you're operating in your feminine essence, you don't attract men who play these games, because a man who's ready to be a husband doesn't act like these boys, these dudes in this trending joke. This is why we created our framework, the Art of Wifery framework, because we wanted women to stop having to relate to these kinds of jokes. We wanted them to look at these trends and think, couldn't be me, not because now they're the ones playing the games, but because they've elevated themselves beyond the games entirely. So what if instead of learning how to play these games better, you learned how to stop playing them altogether? What if instead of matching toxic energy, you learned how to attract men who don't have toxic energy to begin with? Because that's what's actually possible when you understand what we teach. So ladies, let's talk about what it's actually costing you. Because while these entering male-dominated field jokes might feel satisfying right now, they come with a price tag that nobody's talking about. Every time you ghost someone to give them a taste of their own medicine, play hot and cold to keep them guessing, manipulate situations to stay in control, you're not just affecting them. You're rewiring your own feminine essence. So think of it like this. Imagine you had a beautiful garden. Would you pour poison on it just because someone else poured poison on theirs? Would you destroy your own flowers just to prove you know how destruction works? But you see, that's exactly what you're doing when you adopt toxic behavior to match their energy. You're poisoning your own garden. You're corrupting your own feminine essence. And most importantly, you're blocking your own path to the kind of love you actually want. I know some of you are thinking, but I'm just protecting myself. And I get it. Trust me, I do. But here's what nobody's going to tell you. When you operate from a place of protection rather than connection, you attract men who are doing the same thing. It's basic energy work, ladies. When you show up guarded, playing games, trying to win at dating, you repel men who are genuinely ready for commitment. You attract men who enjoy power games. You create exactly the dynamic you're trying to avoid. You block your own capacity to receive love. And we see it all the time with our coaching clients. Women who are successful at everything else in their life, but can't understand why they keep attracting men who play games. It's because they've become so good at playing these games themselves that they've forgotten how to be authentic. But here's the beautiful thing. The moment you step out of these games, the moment you start operating from your true feminine essence again, something magical happens. The right kind of men, the ones who are actually ready for marriage and legacy building, they start showing up. Because a man who's ready to be a husband, he's not looking for someone who's good at playing games. He's looking for someone who's brave enough to be authentic, someone who's healed enough to be vulnerable, someone who's wise enough to choose peace over power. I already see the comments, okay? But the divine feminine is angry. We're done being nice. This is what they get. This is what they deserve. Ladies, let me speak to this directly, because this right here is exactly where most women get stuck. There's this idea that you have to be one of two choices. You can either be a doormat or become what hurt you. But the true divine feminine energy, it's not about being nice or being angry. It's about being powerful. And real power, it doesn't need to prove itself by hurting others. When you're truly in your feminine power, you don't need to ghost because you communicate clearly. You don't need to play games because you know your worth. You don't need to manipulate because you inspire. And you don't need revenge because you're too busy preparing to build a legacy. We work with women every day who come to us thinking they need better manipulation tactics, but what they actually need is to heal. Because a healed woman doesn't need to hurt others to prove she can't be hurt. So how do we actually break this cycle? It starts with understanding that your trauma responses aren't your power. Your defense mechanisms aren't your strength. Your ability to hurt others isn't your worth. Real transformation happens when you choose peace over power games, pick healing over revenge, select growth over getting even, and focus on becoming wife material instead of proving you can play men's games better than they can. And yes, this means being vulnerable. This means dropping the armor. This means risking getting hurt. But here's what I promise you. When you show up as wife material from day one, you naturally filter out the men who would hurt you anyway. Because the men who ghost, who play games, who need to be manipulated, they can't handle real feminine energy. They literally don't know what to do with a woman who's truly in her power. Let's break this down in a way that you can implement immediately. First, let's talk about what wife energy is not. It's not being a doormat. It's not pretending you don't have standards. It's not accepting bad behavior. And it's definitely not about being traditional in the way some people think. Wife energy is about something much more powerful. It's about showing up with such clarity about who you are and what you're creating that the right men naturally step up while the wrong ones naturally step away. Here's what this looks like in practice. So when you match with someone online, you're not playing coy, you're clear from the start. I'm dating intentionally for marriage and family. When you're on a date, you're not testing him or playing games. You're authentically getting to know him while letting him experience the peace and warmth of your feminine energy. Okay, and I can hear some of you now, but won't that scare men away? Baby, that's exactly the point. We want to scare away the men who get scared by wives. Because here's what happens when you show up with wife energy. The players eliminate themselves. The commitment phobes ghost before they can waste your time. The genuine men, though, lean in. The husband material men step up. Let me explain something to you. The women who struggle most in dating are usually the ones who are the best at playing games because they've gotten so good at the game. They've forgotten how to be real. Instead of waiting 3 hours to text back, respond when you're actually available. Instead of testing him, observe him. Instead of playing hot and cold, be consistently warm to those who earn it. Instead of matching toxic energy, maintain your peace. Because here's the truth. A man who's ready to be a husband, he's tired of the games too, believe it or not. He's looking for a woman who's real, who's clear about what she wants, who shows up with the energy of a wife rather than the energy of a player. You don't need to enter male-dominated fields of manipulation. You need to master the art of being so authentically feminine that the right kind of masculine can't help but be drawn to you. So before we wrap up, I want us to zoom all the way out for a minute. While we're all here laughing about these manipulation tactics, there's something bigger happening that nobody's talking about. Have you ever wondered why we're all so comfortable with manipulation in dating? Why it feels so normal that we can joke about it? Here's something that might blow your mind. Dating as we know it today is a very recent invention. I'm talking less than 100 years old. Think about that. For thousands of years of human history, we didn't date. We didn't have situationships. We didn't have to wonder if we were official. The invention of dating was literally the invention of manipulation because it created this weird middle ground where people are together but not really together, where they're trying to figure out if they want each other while pretending they don't really want each other. It's just a fucking mess. Before dating became the norm, courtship was about something bigger than just two people's feelings. It was about creating legacy, building strong families, contributing to community, continual generational wealth, establishing stable homes. But dating made it about who has the power, who cares less, who can get the most while giving the least, who can protect themselves better. So when we joke about these manipulation tactics, when we celebrate getting good at playing games, we're not just participating in a trend, we're perpetuating a system that was designed to keep us from what we really want. Real, lasting love that creates generational impact. What if instead of getting better at manipulation, we got better at manifestation? What if instead of learning how to play games, we learned how to build legacies? The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home. And every time we choose manipulation over authentic connection, we're not just hurting ourselves, we're affecting the very fabric of society. Now, what I'm about to say might be controversial, But I want you to stay with me here because this might completely change how you see these male manipulation tactics everyone's joking about. We've all heard the argument that women needed dating to have choice, and that before dating, women were just traded by their fathers without any say. And yes, there's historical truth there. But here's what that narrative misses. The real question isn't about who gets to choose. It's about what we're choosing for. So think about this. Before the invention of dating, men weren't out here trying to play games. They weren't trying to juggle multiple women or keep their options open because their goal was simple and clear: finding a wife, building a family, creating a legacy. Here is an uncomfortable, unconventional truth. Men didn't teach us manipulation tactics. They learned them from us. And specifically, they learned them from studying the most successful manipulators in history, the sex work industry. When women stopped being wife material en masse, when hookup culture became normalized, when OnlyFans became empowering, men had to adapt. They had to learn how to navigate a dating market where finding a wife became like finding a needle in a haystack. And before you come at me, this isn't about shaming anyone's choices. Remember, we work with sex workers. You might not know that, but we work with sex workers. We understand these dynamics intimately. But what I'm saying is that these manipulation tactics we're now all joking about, they're not naturally masculine behavior. I really want you to think about it. Who originated the art of playing hot and cold? Who perfected the technique of making someone chase? Who taught the world how to leverage attention for gain? These aren't masculine strategies. They're feminine manipulation tactics that men adopted because the dating market forced them to play our game. But here's the good news. When you show up as wife material from day one, when you're clear about creating legacy, when you understand how to communicate this, you attract men who are relieved to drop these games, because that's what they want in the first place. The truth is, most men would rather build a legacy than play games. They'd rather provide than manipulate. They'd rather protect than pursue. But they need to know that the woman they're dealing with is actually wife material. So, here we are, ladies. We've gone from laughing about a trending hashtag to understanding something much deeper about feminine power, legacy, and real love. The tactics we're celebrating, it's blocking our blessings. The power you think you're claiming is actually keeping you powerless. But most importantly, we've discovered that there's another way. A way that doesn't require us to corrupt our feminine essence. A way that actually leads to the deep committed love we're secretly craving, even if we're afraid to admit it. Because let's be honest, nobody's making trending jokes about having a man who adores them, being cherished and provided for, creating a peaceful, loving home, and building generational wealth together. You know why? Because women who have these things aren't on social media bragging about their manipulation tactics. They're too busy being loved exactly the way they deserve. So, we're inviting you to make a choice today. You can keep playing these games. You can keep entering male-dominated fields. Hashtag. You can keep getting better at manipulation. Or you can choose to heal. You can choose to transform. You can choose to become the kind of woman who naturally attracts the kind of man who would never dream of playing these games on in the first place. I know which path leads to real love. We've helped countless women walk it, and we're here to help you too. Because you weren't put on this earth to master the art of hurting others. You were put here to master the art of loving deeply, creating legacy, and building something that lasts longer than a trending hashtag. So thank you for going deep with me, ladies. Remember, your feminine essence is sacred. Guard it, honor it, and watch how the right kind of masculine rises to meet it.